Everyone knows what this is, right? This is a salutation. The way to properly do this is the right hand forms a fist with the heart of the fist down. The left hand comes over slightly in an angle, like so. And the elbows are extended out. They can be all the way out like this, or they can be slightly tilted. And the open hand signifies respect, and the closed fist signifies force or strength. So strength and respect, okay? Two important principles. You can look at it in terms of yin and yang if you want. The yang element would be strength, and the yin element, the soft aspect of the yin element, denotes respect. You can't be strong without respect. You can't be respectful without being strong. I guess you can look at it that way too. So let's take an opening breath. So we take our opening breath. We're going to scoop up energy from the earth, feet on the ground, up overhead, turn over, push down. Just a second. Sorry. All right, let's try it again. Scoop up energy, take a deep breath. Scoop up energy from the heavens, push down. And relax. Bring your hands up, open and close. All right. I was just reading a message. Let's try it again. Open and close. Breathe in and out. Try to feel some energy when you're doing this. Try to feel that you're pulling up out against resistance and closing against the gentle resistance. And turning one hand down, blocking down, turning to the right, breathing in, back to center, the other way. Breathe, turn and look, block down and back, and back. Sit up straight, raise your crown, tuck your chin in, relax your shoulders. Feet on the ground. Turn and look. One hand squatting down to the back, open palm. Keep going. And as you breathe out, as you relax. Okay. Come back to center. Let's open and close. Cross your hands, sweep up, take a closing breath. Come down. Okay. Push to the left. Fingers pointing straight. Palms facing out. Turning, twisting one side and the other. What'll help with this, doing it right, is to maintain your movements along a horizontal plane, which means you have to bend the arm going back, and you bend the elbow straight back. So if you're on one side, just simply rotate both palms 180 degrees to push to the other side and jut your elbow back so that the front arm, as it turns and reaches across to the other side, the elbow goes straight back on the horizontal plane. Okay, fingers forward. So let's say, Chad, your front hand is right. The back hand should be like this. Can you see that? Yeah, that's it. Now, the front hand should be facing forward. Good. Okay, now think about this. As you turn and twist, rotate both hands together. Rotate the palms out to the other side. Pull straight back. Yeah, you got it. Imagine you're pushing against the door. This is a very effective way of self-defense of pushing someone aside, because you're not going to miss this way. You're using two hands, and you've got the ability to move your hands. I don't know if you can see it. If I do it this way, you can move your hands closer together, further apart, and also forward and back. So you've got a lot of ability to adjust that posture to be able to push someone aside, depending on how big they are and their position with respect to you. And we're turning this into a spine exercise by pushing from one side to the other. You want to be able to turn and turn. You would often use this movement stepping back to push something aside as you step back and away from it. Turn. Be sure to, when you turn, that those fingers are both pointing forward. The palms are facing flat out to the side. I'm going to spend a little time on this because often people don't get this the first time. Push and pull. Twist, push and pull. Can you feel that you're exercising your shoulders and your arms and your waist and your back? It's a really good exercise. The more you twist, the more exercise you're going to get, but don't go past a point where you feel discomfort, all right? Start easy and work your way up. Okay, now we're going to do something similar. This time we're going to hold this ball. We're going to turn the ball over. So one hand is on the top, palm facing down. The other hand is on the bottom, palm facing up, like we're holding a beach ball at the top and the bottom. And what we're going to do is we're going to push to the side where the lower hand, you're going to push to the side where the fingers are. So my fingers here are pointing to my left, so I'm going to pull to the left. And now rotate both palms around, holding the ball forward, and then rotate them around again and pull to the right. This is a little easier than the other one. So you're just basically turning the ball over, holding it on the right side and the left side as you turn the waist. Here you're emphasizing more the muscles in the lower back and the spine, and less with the shoulders. Try to relax your shoulders, all right? Don't hunch up. Relax your shoulders. This is going from a full to an empty, or a sprung to an unsprung position. Coiled, uncoiled, open, closed. There's different ways of looking at it. But when you're back like this on one side, you're coiled, and you're holding energy in a yang state. And you're unloading it to a yin state, of an empty state. So you're going from a full to an empty state, charged, uncharged, different ways of looking at it. And basically that's all Tai Chi is storing energy in one posture, which is called full, and releasing it to another posture called empty, and then repeating the process. And at the same time, you're discharging that energy and creating a force. The more you wind up and the faster you unload, the greater the force and the power. right? Mass times acceleration equals power. So if I want to make it deliver the same amount of power that Muhammad Ali could generate, I'm going to have to move really fast because I don't have the mass that he has. So we're doing these slowly. All right. Come back to center, open and close. Keep your feet on the ground. Bring your hands down to your laps. And let's rotate the shoulders up and back in a circle. Notice that every movement we're doing is a circular movement in different planes. All right, think back over what we've done. Doesn't matter whether we're using the horizontal plane, circular motions, or we're using, this is the frontal plane, right? I'm using the frontal plane, going up and down the front. Or back. Well, here I'm going up and down, but I'm going in and out, so I'm using the sagittal plane. So I'm making this circular motion. I once met a very well-known Tai Chi master who died in the 80s. He was very famous. His name was Master Kuo Lien. And he was the big shot in San Francisco for many years, had a lot of students. And my teacher had actually studied with him for many years. And Master Kuo was the fourth person in the Huangping Yang lineage that goes back to Yang Luchan, who was the father of Yang style, who introduced Yang style in the early 1800s, I think. One thing about him that I recall in my musings is that his posture was perfect. He was perfectly erect whenever he moved. He was like almost like a statue, but he was very flexible, of course, at the same time. Anyway, I met him, and my Tai Chi teacher brought me over to meet him from Berkeley to San Francisco back in the 70s. So bear with me, because I think this is a worthwhile telling, because it introduces and drives home a basic principle, which is important for you guys to know these basic principles. And I'm talking about circular motions. And he said, stand up. I was sitting down, he said, stand up. And he stood up, and gosh, I didn't know what he was going to do. So I was pretty nervous. And what he did was, there's an exercise that we do in standing up. So I don't do this exercise with you guys because it's sitting, right? Where you're doing these, it's a circular movement. It's really good for the hips, where you're actually like a hula hoop. Your head is maintained at stationary, and of course your feet are planted on the ground. And you're moving your waist around in a circle, and of course you can go the other way. And you can do this standing with your feet together apart. And if you're going to do it, put your hands back here to stabilize your back, okay? Because if you haven't done this before, it can introduce some tension in your back. You don't want to pull your back out. So you're basically holding these muscles together as you're doing this for us. Do it gently. So this is a really good one to do. I don't know if you can do this standing down. I'll get back to the story in a second. But you can't really do this sitting because you're moving the waist, right? So you really have to stand up for this. So anyway, I stood up and he went like this and he bumped me. So if you can imagine, I was standing next to him and he went like this and boom, and he just pushed me all the way across the room. So he was demonstrating how a simple exercise, circular movement, energy used, wound up and released in a circular movement that uses a rotational force, can generate a very powerful force. And so that's kind of a good thing to know about Tai Chi. If you look at all the movements, they're all circular movements. And that's why we do a lot of this stuff. to get into this framework, this mental state of feeling the circular movements, and no matter what movement we're doing, all right? Either this way or this way. And this is a circular movement, the opening and closing breath, right? And as we come up like this in our Tai Chi commencement, we're coming up in a circular motion and coming down and storing up energy and then pushing it out, and coming up in a circular movement and bringing it back and then opening and closing. So there are all these circular movements. Okay, so getting back to these exercises, now we're going to use some spiraling energy, and spiraling energy is really a circular movement. It's just in a different plane. So this is a circular movement, but it's called a spiral, right? It's rotating, but as it's rotating, it's going forward. And so we're just basically striking out using this torsional twisting motion, and we're going to kick at the same time. I'm going to move back so you can see me. So we're going to kick. You don't have to kick up as far as I do. I just want you to see that I'm kicking and punching with alternating my hands and my feet. Now, the more you can do this slowly, the more you can kick out, the more exercise you're going to get. But some people don't have that mobility in their legs. If you don't, imagine it. Or just kick out as far as you can. If you can't kick, step. So we're coordinating these hand and foot movements so that they start and end at the same time, right? Keep going with this. See if you can reach out and stretch. So the real benefit, the most benefit that you get out of Qigong, this is a Qigong exercise, is stretching the tendons, which connect the muscle and the bone. And so if you do this, just punching out, wimpy like this isn't going to do much. But if you stretch, you can get a lot more out of that. Okay, good. All right, now we want to always remember to bring the fist back to this ready, Shaolin ready position, which is fist back at the hips. The heart of the fist up, the elbows straight back. And that's where this torsional movement originates and comes back and locks back in that position like this, all right? Moving down, put your toe down, lift your heel and just rotate your heel back and forth. Okay. Sideways, back and forth, sideways, left and right, so forth. And now the other foot. Heel up, rotate back and forth. Of course, this is just an ankle exercise. Sideways. Okay, good. Okay, so before we get into the set, the Sun style set, I wanted to talk a little bit about a principle called the ground path and its connection to another principle called reeling silk. So have you heard about that? Maybe if you've done Tai Chi, maybe you've heard about silk reeling and the ground path. All right. So these are, to some degree, they're kind of more advanced concepts, but they're good to introduce because we've been doing this for a while, and it'll improve your Tai Chi and it'll give you more power and a feeling of more power, basically. Whether you're using this for self-defense or just using it to relax and feel good. Okay, so the ground path. What does that mean? So the ground path means that, and the reason why I think it's interesting to talk about in this class in particular is if you're standing, you can really feel it much easier. If you're sitting, there's no reason why you can't feel it, but it's not as obvious unless it's pointed out. And that's what I'm trying to do, is point it out. And I've been thinking about this a lot, and I really feel that whether you're standing or sitting, it's just as important if you're doing Tai Chi standing and sitting. So the path means basically that you're using the ground to generate power through the legs, through your torso, and then eventually through the waist and the hands. But basically, the power in Tai Chi originates from the ground. And like I say, if you're standing up, it's more obvious. So really, what's happening here is the arms aren't doing much. It's really the waist that's driving the energy through the arms. And that's why in Tai Chi, 70% is from the waist down. And I think that's true whether you're standing or sitting, although it's a little bit more subtle if you're sitting. And so the analogy is, if you take a old-fashioned wagon where the wheels are attached to the axle, so the wheels don't move unless the axle moves. You can think of the axle as the dantian, as the waist. And you can think of the wheels as the hands. And the waist is really doing all the work, and the hands are just following. So basically, if you're just waving your hands and doing Tai Chi, you're not getting the value out of it. The emotional value is as well as the physical potential out of it. You want to feel connected. And so it's going to start. You want to keep your feet on the ground and establish contact with the ground and focus your attention mentally on that. And then as you move, as you turn your waist through all of these movements, you're generally turning your waist. You want to try to feel the sensation of the energy coming up from the ground into your legs, into your torso, and then finally here in your midsection, and let the hands follow the movement of the waist. And to do this, we're going to do an exercise, and it's called silk reeling, to really be able to put this into words. You're putting in the words and putting the words into feeling. So let's sit up straight. Let's keep our feet on the ground. And this is an exercise that's very similar to cloud hands, which we all know how to do, I think, at this point. And so with cloud hands, you're going to be moving your hands. We're going to first start with one hand, the right hand, and we're going to move the hands in a circle. Here comes that circular motion. It's going to be going in a clockwise direction. It comes up, turns out, comes down, fingers start pointing to the left. We rotate to the left, up to the left side, shoulder height, across the eyes, looking through the hands, down at the right shoulder line, turn the hands, so now the fingers are pointing to the left, come up, open the palm facing out, cross over to the right, and so on and so forth. Now, you want to add this waist movement to it. Now, you're not moving your hands. You're really moving the waist, and the hands are really following the waist movement. Put your other hand on your belly. Turn, pull. Turn the waist to the left. Come up the left shoulder line. Turn to the right, pull. Turning at the waist to the right. If you stop at any point, your waist stops, your hand stops. When you reach the one side or the other, the hand comes up, and as you start to turn, the waist turns, the hands follow, okay? Just like the wheel on the axle. See if you can feel that. Now, if you were doing this standing up, you would be opening and closing your quad, which is a whole other thing. You can feel it, though, a kind of subtle opening and closing of the hips as you rotate around. You're pushing down on the right foot as you pull up to the left. And as you start rotating over to the right, you're pushing down on the left foot as you rotate to the right. So you want to connect all these, the hands and the feet. As you push down, as you come up on one side and you push down with the foot, you start pressing down on the ground. As you put more pressure on that foot as you pull to the right. And so you're connecting, in this case, the right hand to the left foot. And you should feel that connection, and that's called silk. It's a feeling of silk being stretched from the foot to the hand. All right, so here I'm pushing down. I'm coming up the left side, pushing down with the right foot, turning at the waist, releasing the pressure on the right foot. As I get to the right side, I start pushing down on the right side with the hand. I start pushing down with my right foot on the ground as I push to the left, and so forth, and so on. So what's really going on, I'm going to emphasize it, I'm just basically pumping. Now you see how I'm lifting my legs. I'm lifting my foot off the ground so that I'm emphasizing it. But basically I'm pushing down, releasing, pushing down with the other side, releasing, pushing down with the other side, as the hands go from one side to the other. All right. See if you can do that. All right, let's try the other hand. Left hand is moving counterclockwise. Just do the hands, feet on the ground. Come up, open, across, come down, fingers pointing to the right, sweep across the waist, come up on the right side, around to the left. Now, as I come down, on the left side, there's no weight on the ground. I'm touching around my left foot. But as I start to move across, I start to push down with my left foot as if I'm stretching a silk band. You should feel the resistance between the left foot and the right hand as it comes across. Like you're stretching a silk band. Relax. Come across, push down, push, push, push. Start to relax as they come up, across, push down, come up, across, relax the foot, push down. And now let's do both hands. Transferring the weight from one foot to the other. As I move to the right, I press down with the left foot. As I move to the left, I press down with the right foot. Feeling the connection between the feet and the hands. because the energy comes from the ground up through the waist and eventually is expressed by the hands. At first, you might want to really emphasize it. And then after you get used to it, it's more and more subtle. It's more of a subtle feeling. So Tai Chi is a very complex, it's very sophisticated. When you tease, all the principles apart and you try to apply them. That's why it's really so hard to perfect. And we try the best we can to do it right. Now, often as you're learning all this new stuff, you're going to realize you're not even breathing. And you start to get tired. So now let's remember, as we push and we pull one side to the other to breathe. Now relax more and try to just feel it in a more subtle way. As we pull across, we push down the other side. We come up, we relax. Now we start to push down on the other side. Okay. So I'm going to demonstrate this standing up because it may be helpful. And like I said, when you're standing up, you're using more energy from the ground. You're using your feet, obviously. So I'm going to start to transfer my weight actually from one side to the other. Now, when you're sitting down, you're doing this. You're doing the same thing, but you're not moving. You're not moving your butt back and forth because you're sitting, right? So now if you were doing this standing up, you would be opening and closing this quad, your hip, this area in here. It's like when people play golf, they don't move back, they're not swinging back and forth like this. The hips are stationary and the feet are just pumping in and out as you're swinging. The feet are pumping in and out, kind of like this, see? But the position of your core doesn't change if you're playing golf properly, if the proper golf swing. And it's exactly the same analogy. As you swing up, you press down. As you're swinging to the right, I'm pressing down with the left foot. And as I swing through, I transfer the energy in that sprung position, release it, and I start to swing and apply the force through my hands. And now, as I come to the other side, I'm pressing down with the other foot to generate that power through the ground and drive it forward. So I'm starting to play golf, and I'm starting to see a lot of analogies between a proper golf swing and Tai Chi. Maybe I'll write a book about it when I get better at golf. Right now, I'm just a beginner. But my swing is really good, and it's because of all these years of Tai Chi practice. Okay, so yeah, so doing it standing, it would look like this. Pressing, opening and closing the quad. The knees go straight forward and back, in and out. All right, so like I say, this is kind of an advanced subject, and I'm kind of experimenting, bringing it out. I hope I didn't confuse anybody. Are there any questions about it or any comments? All right. Do you have any questions after you think about it? Maybe you're going to read about silk reeling. You might read about, look up the Qua, K-U-A, use of the Qua, generate energy in Tai Chi. Look up, do some Googling and look up the ground path in Tai Chi, and you'll get all kinds of information. And I bet it'll be really helpful in your practice. It's 12:06. Okay, good. All right, so here we go. As we move through, as we go through, let's see, I'm just reading here. Front from everybody, Master Ralf, thank you for explaining. Okay, good, good. Thanks for that, that little chat. That may not make much sense right now, but when you do, if you practice Tai Chi, you'll all of a sudden, you'll get it. You'll just, all of a sudden, wow, it'll just kick in. Yeah, I'm really feeling that, all right? So, you know, it's an intellectual, it's kind of an intellectual concept that you will feel in your body when you just practice and you think about it a little bit, which is what we're going to do right now. So let's sit up straight. And again, it's important to keep the feet on the ground, because the feet are on the ground, you lose all of that, right? You lose the ground path and you lose that connection. So here we go. Arms at our sides, relax. Tuck your chin in, raise your crown. Relax your shoulders. You might go ahead and just take a few deep breaths. Forget about everything I've said. Bring your hands up, fingers dangling down, arms straight, holding a ball. Take a deep breath, bring the ball in and down to your waist. And push out. Push out slowly, fingers pointing straight out, holding this ball. Bring the ball up, bring it into your chest, and open and close. Breathing in and out. So now when you do these movements, as you drop your hands to your side, don't squeeze your hands to your side. Don't constrict yourself. You don't want to, I don't know if you can see me, I'm exaggerating. You don't want to have your arms in and be constricted. You want to have a feeling of openness and roundness. And if you do it both ways, you'll see that you feel more energy if your body is open rather than closed, which means your elbows are pointing down and out a little bit. Come down, push out. Come in, not too far in. We don't want to get constricted. We want to not too far out. We want to come in about 8 inches or so from the chest. Make sure, again, the same principle, don't push too close in and don't extend too far out when you open and close. All right, you don't want to feel constricted. You know when you're doing it right because it doesn't feel constricted. It feels expansive, open and close. Turn the palms out. We're going to proceed to single whip. Turning the palms out, we push out a few inches and extend out to the sides. The elbow still pointing down. The arm should look like a swallow position. Out just a little past the shoulders, fingers straight up, palms facing out. Getting ready for cloud hands. We bring the right hand down in an arc, placing the right palm underneath the left elbow, the left side of our bodies, shoulder line. Switch up and down, maintaining the same distance between the hands. And now here we go. Here's the wheel and the axle coming into play. We're going to pull across to the right shoulder line as we press down with the left leg to the ground, helping imagine that we're generating a force to the right. We relax the left force down with the left leg. So we switch the hands up and down. We start to apply pressure to the right leg on the ground as we push across to the left, adding power to that strike to the left. And let's do it a few more times. Using the ground path, pressing and pulling. Using the ground path as we switch to the other side. Subtle shifts in forces through the ground, rotating around the waist. The hands are not moving, the waist is moving. The waist is the axle, the hands are the wheels. Keep going. When we get to the right side or the left, it doesn't matter. Whichever hand is down, we turn it over. We come up in an arc, up past the upper hand in front of it, across our face. As we turn forward, the hands should be opposed, the palms opposed to each other, like we're holding a ball, and we just simply open and close as we breathe in and out. As we push, we pull and push. Again, we can do it again. Don't open too much and don't close too much. Nice, subtle movements. Turning at the waist to the right, placing the right fingers on the right, the left fingers on the right elbow. We turn at the waist and we look at that palm. We're in a full position, a yang position, ready to unwind as we extend the left hand bar, like a bar, straight across, out with the thumb down, blocking across as we push through the shoulder line, right shoulder line with the right hand, bringing the left palm across and in, attaching the knuckle of the left thumb to the hip. And notice how my right hand isn't completely extended. It's got some bow to it, right? We never want to lock a joint in Tai Chi. And notice my left hand is down with the palm facing down, and there's a bow in that joint, in the elbow. So it should look like this and like this. So really what we're doing here is it's two things. We're blocking a strike coming across, and we're turning at the waist and generating a force, striking straight out, using this heel of our hand as an object to strike at something else. It's very powerful, and there's a lot of strength in the connection between the hand and the wrist. And if you do it right, if you're actually going to use this, you don't want to bend your wrist too much, because then when you hit, you can break your wrist. What you want to do is generate that force with your hand slightly bent. Can you see that? Rather than like this, it's slightly bent. So when you hit something, you're not going to break your wrist. And if you think about it, if you were to punch something versus hit like this, if you use your wrist to punch something, you're going to break your knuckles. I mean, it's going to be really terrible. But you can generate as much or even more of a force using the heel of your hand than you can with your fist without hurting yourself. Okay? So cross like this. And I just want to emphasize again that the arm is not fully extended, and neither is the angle between the hand and the wrist fully 90 degrees. It's more like 30 or 45 degrees. Okay, we're here in this posture. We play the lute. Front hand comes down. So it's a rotation down to the waist, to the solar plexus. It's out here. You bring it around in a circular form to to the bottom. And then this hand here, which is at the waist, comes up in a circular motion, like you're turning the wheel in front of you. So it's a circular motion. The hand that's up comes down in an arc. The hand that's down comes up in an arc. Here again, you have that circular motion. What you're doing here is reaching out and grabbing a wrist, reaching up here and grabbing an elbow, and breaking the arm by pulling down on the wrist and up on the elbow. It's awful, but that's what you're doing here when you play the lute. Sounds pretty, but it's a really kind of a, it can be a devastating technique. It's hard to demonstrate because I need somebody else to do it. Basically, if you reach out and you grab the wrist and you bring the wrist down, at the same time you come up with the other hand at the joint, you're applying force in two different directions. And even if you don't bring the hands down like playing the lute, if you just hold that person and turn that person's arm over, you can control them by just pushing them in and out. And actually, you can push them back instead of breaking a joint. But anyway, that's the feeling, is a circular motion. Playing the lute, okay, that's how you use it. And to do it properly, you have to have your arms at 90 degrees. That is, the forearm to the bicep 90 degrees, bending the elbows right out in front of you like this, okay? So this is what it should look like. Not too close like this, more like this. All right. So now we go to deflect, parry, punch. If you're standing, you'd be moving forward with this. We turn the lower hand up, we turn the upper hand down. And we pull the upper hand in and push the upper hand out as we slide the hands past each other. And now I'm extended, my right hand is extended, not fully, as if I'm holding a ball with the fingers pointing straight out. This is a strike called a knife strike with the fingers straight out to the throat. And the left hand, as it slides down across the hand coming up, the upper hand, in this case the left hand, slides across the hand and comes right, locks back in right at the waist like it was before when we finished the brush knee. So instead of this, it looks like this. All right. Instead of this, it looks like this. Very similar. So if we do this sideways, it'll look like this. And we turn the hands over again and do it one more time. And so if we just, we could do this as a Tai Chi or Qigong, is turn over and slide, turn over and slide, turn over and slide. So we get some practice doing it. And notice that it's not just linear like this, see? It's actually circular. So the hands are moving straight up, front and back. They're moving in the sagittal plane, but they're also moving a little bit in the horizontal plane. So you see that motion? Do this, guys. Everybody do this. So push one hand in and pull the other hand in. Palms down. Push and pull. And I want you to make two circles. Both going, one, the right hand in this case is going clockwise, the left is going counterclockwise. All right, now reverse it. Left hand going counterclockwise, right hand clockwise. All right. Okay, and now take the lower hand, palm up, the upper hand, palm down. And as you slide them past each other, try to add that circular motion to it. And so the right hand is kind of going out, but it's going clockwise, and left hand is coming in counterclockwise a little bit. It's kind of like an oblong, elongated circle. And now turn the hands over and go the other way. Turn the hands over and go the other way. And so as you're going in and out, the hands are rotating in a horizontal plane, changing positions. One hand is going clockwise, the other hand going counterclockwise, and then they change, rotating in the other direction. Now, the reason why you say, why am I doing this? Why not just do this? And it all has to do with the way it's used. If a force comes in and I want to deflect that force, I would have a tough time doing it by going straight out. So you can imagine a force coming in. If I come around like this, I can intercept it and make it slide off to the right or to the left, depending on which hand I'm using, by adding a little bit of this circular motion. And so when we do the Tai Chi work, imparting the flavor of the martial application in a very relaxed way, there's that hint. And these circular motions, like I say, are very important, whether you're deflecting or whether you're generating a force. And even brushing knee, one hand is coming, this is pretty obvious. It's a circular motion in the horizontal position, pushing aside a stride, right? And this one here is linear. This is linear. This is going straight in and out. So there are always exceptions to things. Okay, so yeah, we have these circular linear motions, adding energy. And I like to do this kind of stuff. Just sometimes I'll just play around with turning the hands like this. Okay, let's see. A remark, Ralph, to everybody. What about your feet? Oh, okay. So if I were doing this standing up, so sitting down, your feet are just on the ground. Okay, so what about your feet? What's going on with the feet? So sitting down, very good. The ground pad, all right? As I push with my left hand, all right, as I push out with my left hand, I apply pressure to my left foot. As I push out with my right hand, I apply pressure with my left foot. I turn it over as I push forward with my left hand, I apply pressure with my right foot. Does that make sense? See if you can feel it. Imagine you're reaching out and you're going to turn your hands over and you're going to strike out and pull back at something. You're going to press down with that left foot as you push out with that right foot to drive that energy forward. And if you're standing up, like I said before, it's much more apparent. If you can stand up and do it, it would look more like this. Play the lute. All right, now watch. I step forward, sink, and I come up. Now I've got my weight on my left foot. As I come up, I'm pushing with that left foot as I come up and strike with my right. And at some point now I've got all my weight on my left foot as I fully extend it after the strike. And so I go from having no weight on the left foot as I push out and generate that force more and more on my left foot until now I'm just standing on my left foot. Now I turn the hands over, I step out, I start to push and I start to press my foot into the ground as I generate that force with that left hand as I come up like this. And it's no different in boxing. You know, a boxer is going to I hear I'm getting into a really interesting subject. There's two types of boxing. There's Chinese boxing and there's Western boxing. Western boxing pushes off the same foot and hand. And so if I'm going to jab, I'm going to step forward. I'm going to push off with my right foot, jab with my right hand. Chinese boxing, there is Chinese boxing. It's not Tai Chi. I'm going to, as I punch, as I jab with the right hand, I'm going to strike with my. I'm going to step forward and press with my left foot. All right. So it's more like this, and that's because I strike into a bow and arrow stance, and so I'm going to transfer the weight to my left foot as I step forward and generate that energy. Same thing here. And when we do this exercise at the beginning where we kick, that exemplifies, in a way, the principle of Chinese boxing, except that it's going to be a kick as I punch. Now, if I put my foot down, I would step into it. I'd put weight on this foot as I drive with the right hand, or I can kick. So it's counterlateral. I'm kicking with my right hand. I'm kicking with my left foot or my right foot, punching with the other hand. Okay, so that gets into a whole bunch of other things, but Western boxing is very different than Tai Chi, and it's very different than Eastern boxing. And and all the forces in Tai Chi are contralateral, where you're balancing one side with the other. So if I'm punching with my left hand, I'm going to be stepping forward or kicking with my left. If I'm punching with my right hand, I'm going to be stepping forward and kicking with my left leg. If I'm going sideways, same principle with this. If I'm doing a strike to the right, I'm going to press with the left. I mean, it makes sense. I'm driving energy through the ground, up through the left, and then transferring the energy to my right side. Does that kind of make sense? Anyway, it gets into kind of advanced stuff. But anyway, we were at Cloud Hands. All right. And then we were at Brush Knee, and then we were at Play the Loop. And everyone, thank you for explaining that. Okay, good. So thank you for that. So what's the next move? We do a deflection. That's what it is. I'm deflecting something. And so if I'm going to do it properly, I have to use this kind of a spiral energy, right, to deflect it. You can imagine that. And at some point I come here, I'm going to do what's called a parry and a punch. Now, a parry is when you push something aside, and everyone knows what a punch is. Punch is usually linear. Punches are not very effective doing these roundhouses, right? Punches are more effective when they're linear. And so that's exactly what we're going to do. We're here, we make two fists, and now I'm going to fold over my left fist, fold it right over my chest. And at the same time, I'm going to punch up over that wrist. Now, what are we doing when we're doing this? We are grabbing a wrist, and pulling it over, and then punching up over that. So if somebody were to reach out and punch at you, you're here, you would grab the wrist, pull it over to one side. All right, so if I were punching you and you grab my wrist and pull it over here, and then you would punch up here at me. In a way, I'm incapacitated because you've turned my body, and I only have this hand to do something with. Now that my body's turned, I can't really do anything with it. But here, you grab it and then you punch over. So they're different in different styles of Tai Chi. The parry is done differently. All right. So the way I like the parries, I don't like to grab something because if I miss, it's not going to work. I'm going to get hit. So the way I like to parry is I just like to slap aside. And if you slap something aside, you're not going to miss. You've got this open hand, you've got a lot of geography here to push something aside. You go ahead and try it with somebody and have your partner reach out and pretend they're going to punch you. And you reach out and try to grab the wrist and push it aside. Maybe you get it, maybe you don't. But if you just simply do this, it does the job. It gets the hand out of the way, and then you just punch over it, all right? So I'm going to say that if you're in this position here, you can do this by just opening your fist and pairing the side like this and punching over. Or you can close your fist and grab and pull it over. But the movement's the same. It's this way. Now, there's different ways to parry. If you were going to parry a punch that's high, you'd parry it this way. If you were going to parry a punch that's low, I'd come around with the other hand and parry to the other side. So you can either parry this way or you can parry this way. And this is kind of interesting because look at this. There's circular movements in the opposite direction. One parry, another parry. You can also parry a kick that way, right? If you were going to parry a kick, all right, you would do it this way. You'd come around this way and kick and push it to the side. Okay, so that's what a punch and a parry is, whether it's open-handed or closed. And now what your next move is going to open the hands up and push the palms facing out like a butterfly. All right, so fingers pointing in opposite directions, right and left, to the left and right quadrant, 45 degrees. And now you draw back to protect your face. That's called a calling block. And push. So we break that down after the, whether we parry with the open hand or the fist. Open the hands up, turn the palms facing out, pull the palms in with the elbows slanted down, drawing back. And then to push, you lower your hands to your chest and push out in an arc. So even the push isn't just straight. Or you will see it done that way, but it's not really right. The push is bringing the hands down and pushing more from the core. So it's pushing down and up. It has more force that way. Bringing the hands back to the chest for the open and close. All right, and then we could end there. That's 12 movements. Bringing the hands down to the knees and relax. Or to your sides, it doesn't matter. If we add the principle of silk reeling and using the round path from the feet, let's see if we can add some of this to what we just did and see if it works. I haven't done this before for these particular moves. So we did our deflect, parry, and punch. This movement is pretty straight on. And you would have sitting, you would have your weight on both feet. All right, so your weight is equally distributed between both feet in all of these moves. When you pull back, you have the feeling of your toes lifting. When you push forward, you have the feeling of pressing your feet into the ground as you push. And that's going to be pretty natural because if you're trying to get away from something and block, you're going to rock back on your heels. If you're going to push forward, you're going to press down and push forward. Now, I can demonstrate this much easier using the standing methods. All right. So in this style, doing it standing, this is a sun style. The deflection would look like this. I already did this. Pushing on the right leg as I step forward, making two fists, I step forward, I'm pushing off the back leg, and now applying pressure on the front leg as I come up, see, the opposite leg as I come up. And now in this empty stance, I'm going to open up and I'm going to sink back with my weight back now, see? I'm getting away from something. So I'm sliding back. Our weight is back. And now as I come forward and I step, I bring my hands down, just like the sitting. And I'm going to press back with my back foot into that, see? Pressing forward and up as I come up. And then turning and opening and closing. And so when you're standing and doing this, you're applying pressure between one leg and the other hand, and the other leg the whole time. And you get the feeling of this kind of thing, and it's just much more, it's more transparent when you're standing than when you're sitting. What I'm trying to do is make this work, is make the principles work in the sitting position, just so, you know, because that's just the way it is. And I believe whether you're sitting or standing, you should be able to have the same kind of feelings going on, although there is going to be some differences. And it's just the nature of it, right? For sitting, it's just different. Okay. How many people here on Jin, but I want to do it a little bit differently this time. I figured out a way to do it a little differently to make it easier on the body. And I want to talk about that next week, okay? Yi Gun Jin, which is the Eastern practice of Western bodybuilding that builds strength and strengthens the tendons and the ligaments and the muscles. All right, so we'll do that next.